Hello everyone, my name is Raven and I am basically going to talk to you all about travel nursing. So brief background about me, I have been a travel nurse for the last 2 years. I've been a registered nurse for 5. Started in Illinois, that's where I was born and raised, Chicago of course, and now I want to talk to you about working in California specifically. The culture of nursing, the dynamic, everything is completely different. I mean, of course, nursing is the same everywhere, which is why it's great to be a travel nurse. However, the mindset, like I said, the culture of just nursing in California is different, especially amongst us nurses. Just recently, I finished a strike, and it was actually a strike, and it wasn't the nurses who were on strike. It was actually just other personnel that were on strike. But of course, the nurses actually joined them and became a part of the strike as well. So it's very much inclusive, and like I said, the culture is just different. So their nurses, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, are super spoiled. You know, I'm sure everyone's heard stories about break nurses and the hour-long breaks that the nurses get here in Cali. Well, I'm not in California right now, but in California, you get an hour lunch. And working on night shift, it's okay, it's acceptable to sleep. Like, you might possibly even get an hour and a half. But they encourage you to go take your nap. Like I said, the culture is just completely different. Having break nurses that pass your meds, and take after your patients. What else? Just so much. Just it's more about the quality, I would say. Of course, we get paid more, right? So I'm working primarily in the southern part of California. So right outside of Los Angeles, which is Southern California, SoCal. Of course, I worked, earlier, when I first came out here earlier last year, I worked in San Francisco. I did an assignment there. And of course, one of the facilities I use, one of the biggest facilities, corporations, brands, whatever you want to call it, hospitals, is Kaiser. And they pay the most. After 5 years of working at Kaiser, you're set for life as far as insurance-wise. So that's your best bet to get into a Kaiser facility. I'm not sure if I can say that, but that's the truth. That's the honest truth. However, now, that's why I'm releasing this video, and I want to tell everyone the do's and the don'ts. So like I said, when I first came to California, I was working with American Mobile. So you can only get into Kaiser through American Mobile. That's the catch. But who knows that? When you first come out there, you don't know. You're just okay, I'm on my travel assignment. You're used to what you're used to, but nursing is nursing everywhere. So you would think, right? No. Anyway, so first assignment goes well, whatever case may be. Like I said, it was in San Francisco. So just kind of dealing with that. Also, when it comes to the difference in Northern California and Southern California, the pay is definitely different. But how the cost of living is way higher as well. So your rent will easily be $2,600, maybe $2,200 if you're lucky. But like I said, $2,700 is normal for a 1-bedroom in San Francisco. This is Northern California or those surrounding areas. And of course, you're getting paid more, so you spend more, so it makes sense. It might weigh itself out. However, when I was there, this is 2017, January through April, the weather was not so hot. It was gloomy, cold. I just didn't, and then to be floated after 1 hour, and then floated again after another 4 hours, and then now I'm doing paperwork, and then I might have to be a CNA, or just being all over the place throughout different shifts. It was honestly too much for me. And then I come home to bad weather. I was just I don't know, I couldn't do it. I'm thermoregulated, so at least partially. So just kind of like I'm giving you all this information so that you'll know, so you can kind of assess the situation, like you're in yourself, like in your goals, like, okay, so now I know, like I said, I would do things differently, but I'm happy everything worked out the way it did, of course. But so anyway, so back to SoCal. So that was Northern Cal. So now in Southern California, of course, you get paid a little bit less, you know. Well, not a little bit, a lot less. You get paid a lot less. But of course, it's way nicer. You can go to the beach every day. There's so much, I mean, there's things to do in Northern California, of course, as well. But like, what? Hiking is like so easy. Like, what? We hit the trails all the time. Like, it's just so much. It's very much more interactive, and it's different. It's so crazy, like how big this state is. It's like two different, it's just completely different. The people are so much more different. I feel like the people are more stuck up so in Northern California versus in Southern Cal. But who knows, everyone's experience is different, but it's just interesting. It's definitely worth trying, you know. Step outside your comfort zone. Just know what you want, know what you expect, and be prepared to really surface and really to deal with certain situations. Like I said, just be prepared. I say all this just so that you can come in to the situation and you can really attain your goals, instead of coming in and not knowing, like, okay, because it's really stressful. It causes anxiety when you don't know what to expect. But you know, feel free to ask me questions. You know, email me, or whatever questions or comments you all have. It's fine. I will gladly answer. I don't have a problem. I'm completely transparent. So here in SoCal, so what happened with me, really interesting story. Kind of cool how it works. This guy, right? So when I was at this Kaiser facility in San Fran, I actually ran into a girl who was also on the same, you know, she was working with American Mobile as well. And she was from Florida, and so she introduced me to her recruiter, and we both ended up coming down to SoCal together. And so we came down to SoCal together, and I started working with an agency through her, like her referral, so to speak. And so agency was so dope, because when I tell you, like, I drove from Texas here, well, you know, SoCal, Northern Cal, I mean. And then this agency, they set me up in, like, they gave me my own housing. So my housing, my 1-bedroom apartment, which was over 900 square feet, was a corporate housing apartment. So I didn't have to put my name on the lease. I didn't have to worry about a credit check. I didn't have to worry about a deposit. I didn't have to worry about paying the water bill. I didn't have to worry about paying the cable bill, the light bill, you get my point, right? So it's just a very smooth transition in that regard. Of course, you know, you have to go through all the paperwork and your references and compliance. I mean, that goes with anything. But the point is, this company really gave me a really smooth transition for what I was trying to do, which was work per diem or registry, or even a contract in SoCal. Because I just didn't want to be in Northern California anymore because of the temperament I felt, and like I said, the weather. So here I am. I'm still in SoCal, basically a year later, and I love it. Like, I really don't have too many complaints, but I do have more do's and don'ts on that as well. But this company came in, and when I say within a week, I was moving into my apartment. Like, at first, when I first came down and they met me in person and everything, and I made sure all my compliance was in order, they put me in like Candlewood Suites. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that, but it's basically just like a, you know, like an extended stay or something. So it comes with like a kitchenette, and, you know, it's just like a regular hotel room. So anyway, I stayed in one of those for maybe a few days until my apartment was ready, which was super cool. Like, I've never even heard of a company doing so much for you on such short notice, just everything, right? So cool, that all worked out. Fast forward to now, a year later. So throughout this year, I have I've done at least 3 contracts. Like, I worked at UCI, I've worked through, at Chalk. I've worked just a bunch of various different hospitals, and it's pretty cool because it's very much autonomous. It's all about what you want to do. As long as you commit to working, your required days, so many days, of course, to pay your rent, of course, and to, stay, like I said, stay compliant and make sure you're paying your bills, then you're in good standing, and you'll continue to work and you'll continue to have a good life, a good living situation as well. So that's that. However, as with any company, just because of the area, the location, and just because of what's it called, like census, and just like because this is how things work, like not laws of attraction, but just because this is how ways things are working, there are slow periods. So summertime, definitely slow. Ironically enough, when the weather is bad, people will want to work, but when the weather is good, people don't want to work. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but whatever. Do come to California if you are patient, kind, of course, respectful, professional above everything else, and if you are able to really separate your emotions from work. It's one thing to be patient and kind and sweet and forthcoming with your patients, but and they're having a hard time, because normally you are able to kind of converse and kind of go back to your coworkers for support. However, that might not always be the case here. You have to be able to be self-sufficient. A lot of autonomy, and you really need to be prepared for that. I mean, that's not always the case, but that's the reality of the situation. At first, it's just like a new job, somewhat like you have to pay your dues, so to speak. But the travelers always get the worst. Well, let me not say always. I take that back. I don't want to say always, because that's like a stigma. But just be always ready to, expect the worst, but prepare for the best, of course. Just and be okay with that. So if you're a hothead, or your personality is like a little bit confrontational, or whatever the case may be, then this might not be the place for you. Or if it is, there are other routes that you can go through, and I'll tell you more about that later. But as far as going through Kaiser, through American Mobile and their other affiliates, it's very much about your face, and how you present yourself and how you maintain that, and being able to be kind of like, not necessarily run over, but floated here, floated there, pulled after 2 hours, go here, go there. When I say these things, it's because my experiences have been from good, bad, to horrible, to superb, to just everything in between and more. Specifically, I particularly did not enjoy my experience at Kaiser when I was at San Francisco. But if I knew what I knew now, I would have did things completely different. So that's why I am saying to you, come in, especially if your goal is to work per diem in California. Maybe so many nurses work once, there are a few shifts a month, and then they go back home. You know what I'm saying? And especially with Kaiser, you're gonna make 80, 90, $100 an hour easily, easily. And then, like I said, after 5 years being with them, you have benefits for life and you're taken care of. And so it's definitely worth it. Kind of like getting through those like nitty gritty and like, those hardships, and just like I said, the harsh treatment, because it's very harsh. Honestly, it's not harsh to the point that EEOC needs to be called and things like that, because that's just the culture of things out here. Like I said, the nurses are spoiled, and they're just accustomed to certain things. So you have to come in. You have to come out there, out here with that mindset, with the mindset that, okay, you know what, I understand that you all are used to things being a certain way. I don't, what, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to do my part because I know what my goal is. You have to keep your goal in mind. So, if you can do that, kudos to you. Come on, bring it. Come get the money. enjoy it, beautiful weather. What is there not to love? Is, I mean, like I said, better pay, beautiful weather, beautiful people. Everything is just beautiful. Like, you know, you just feel better when you're around beautiful people. You're just happier. You feel like you're doing a more, like, a good thing, more justice and everything. So, okay, I'm back. So I do advise coming in and applying with the listed company that I will put below, and then also get with another agency as well. Therefore, you will always have two. You always, you know, it's I don't know if you all have heard the saying, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, but it's kind of similar to that. So you can have, like, come in under the agency that I'm telling you, and you'll make sure you'll have, you know, you're taking care of your living situation is good. But then when they have slow days, because they will have slow days, every agency has slow days. Even when I even at one point I was working with my agency, and I had even got hired with another like an actual hospital, not just an agency, but hospital. And I was working float pool and per diem, and I was even getting canceled. But I guess that makes sense because, you know, you cancel per diem first, but just still, you know what I'm saying? Like, I went to full time and I still was getting canceled, and it was just like, so there's gonna be slow days regardless, and so that's why you always need to have two. If you're gonna work in California, you have to have two. I don't think I know anyone that, like, not one, not even a half a person. I don't know one nurse that doesn't have at least two jobs. And that's not because you have to, or because, oh, it's so expensive. It's just because to have the flexibility and to live the life that you want and to maintain a lifestyle you want, you will want to, because you wouldn't want all of your eggs in one basket, you know, because what happens if that basket falls over? You know what I'm saying? So that's my advice if you're thinking of coming to California. I would say definitely, depending on your goal, definitely apply to an agency, to whatever particular area you want, or whatever field you're in, whatever, depending on your goal, your long-term goal. And then once you get good in with them, shortly after, or maybe even at the same time, apply with another company as well. So like I said, so on the days that you might get canceled with your your primary agency, you can always pick up and, you know, see, and that way one hand washes the other, and so you're not just sitting here twiddling your thumbs and sitting on your hands and just trying to figure out, oh man, it's slow. I know it's slow season, but I mean, bills don't stop. You still have to pay your bills. So that's my take on that. And you know, if you're just thinking, you know what, I just want to come out to California just to work as much as I can and come home, agency Westways is the perfect agency for that, because literally, like I said, how they set me up when I first came out, and like a candle would, you literally, you put my name down, and I would have my guy hook you up, basically, and of course I'll give you my phone number, my email, and everything, so that if you have any questions or concerns or anything, you know, you'll always be able to contact someone and know what's going on.